Unsung Murder Ballads discusses topics of a disturbing nature.
And we're not going to hold back on the graphic details and disturbing content.
So we do not recommend our podcast for children under the age of 13.
And while we respect the victims and their families involved in these tragic cases,
we're also going to be critical of mistakes that are made during the investigations.
And we're going to use dark humor to express ourselves now and then.
So with that said, this podcast may not be for everyone.
And that's okay. We're glad you're here checking us out.
And if you've made it this far, welcome to the Unsung Murder Ballads family. And follow us on Instagram at Unsung Murder Ballads if you want to talk to us.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Unsung Murder Ballads. This is episode 116. I am Janice Dead.
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous Dead.
Tonight we have Jameson giving us an episode, so take it away, Jameson.
All right. Well, we've got a little bit of a teaser for this one, so we'll get right down to it.
All right.
On September 25th, 1968, 8-year-old Tali Shapiro is living with her parents in L.A. She's walking to school when a man in a beige car pulls over to the sidewalk to ask her if she wants a ride to school. Tali remembered what her mom and dad had been talking to her about since she was very little, and that was don't talk to strangers.
Yeah, or get in their cars, I would hope.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially at 8 years old.
Well, I mean, at least she had enough common sense for that age to have that instilled in her enough to think about it when it came about. So she said that to the man, and the man said, "It's okay. I know your parents. They said it's all right." Now,
classic.
Yeah, exactly. Classic.
He also said that he had this beautiful picture he wanted to show her, but she wasn't going to get to see it unless she got in the car.
That's a weird selling point.
Like, yeah, I don't know.
Want to see a pretty picture? Get in my car.
Yeah, normally you got some candy in there or what? Like you got something good?
A bike, something, but no, a pretty picture? Yeah. That's a weird one.
Like you got some Pokemon cards?
Well, apparently that was enough motivation for her because something about his offer just piqued her interest, and she got in the car with him, and he drove off with her. What Tali and the man didn't know was that there was another driver who had witnessed the entire thing.
Ooh.
Well, that's good.
And this driver's spidey senses, I guess you want to call them, were tingling. Okay. So we followed them through LA to the apartment building where the strange man was taking the little girl.
And LA's not small. So like if he's following them that like through LA, like that's some dedication.
Yeah, good on this guy.
Yeah.
He immediately calls 911 and leaves.
Okay. Now, this but is my guess is, I was going to say, my guess is he had to leave first to call 911 because of you said the
right.
60s,
so
right?
You're picking up on what me and Joyce do here. You're knowing everything before it happens here.
Predicting the story.
So this was 1968 and wasn't as easy as it is now to call 911. So you couldn't just pull out a cell phone. You had to actually go somewhere and call. Now, surprisingly, the police take his call seriously and send a officer to the scene, to the apartment.
Good. And especially because it's LA. They don't normally take anything seriously.
Right. Well, I was like...
Jameson, this is a short story.
Oh, just you wait.
No.
The first officer gets to the apartment and knocks on the door, announcing that he's with LAPD and that the person needs to open the door. A short moment later, a man opens the door enough to poke his head out and say, "Sorry, I was in the shower."
A likely story.
Yeah, right. He asked the officer to give him a moment so he could get dressed. Now, if a weird circumstance like that happened and you know that, this weird man has a little girl, would you give him a moment?
No, I'd be like, you need to open this door right the fuck now.
Mm-hmm. Although without a warrant, like, they can only do so much.
Yeah, but there's still probable cause.
True.
So despite claiming he had a bad feeling about the man and knowing that there was a young girl inside, the cops did in fact give him a moment. You have 10 seconds, and if this door is not open, then we're going to kick it in, is basically what the cop said. And so 10 seconds pass and door doesn't open, so that's what they do. They kick it in, and they find a horrific scene.
Oh, no.
I was gonna
There in
say
the kitchen.
he probably interrupted the horrific scene.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There, laying in the kitchen in a pool of blood, was the little girl,
Oh my
and
God.
identified as Tally. There was a
Just like
heavy,
that.
yeah.
My
Well,
guess is he used that 10 seconds to get the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah.
There was a heavy bar laying across her that she had clearly been beaten with.
Ugh.
Oh.
Police immediately rushed to her side and began trying to save her. It was clear she had been raped and that she wasn't breathing.
Oh.
That's awful.
Suddenly, a wet, choking noise came from Tally. She was alive.
It probably scared the shit out of all of them.
Oh, yeah. Imagine being that officer and walking in and seeing that and having to act and,
Well,
no.
props to him for stopping to try to help her instead of chasing after the fleeing asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
So they called an ambulance. The attention then turned back to finding the man responsible for this, because in the midst of all the chaos, he managed to escape out the back door.
Yeah.
Detectives searched the apartment, looking for any clues or info on who he may be.
Assuming
Remember
it's
that
his
picture?
I was gonna say, assuming it's his place, it's gotta be everywhere in that place. They probably know who he is now.
So, remember that picture he wanted to show Tally?
Oh God.
His
Mhm.
apartment was full of professional photography and a huge collection of photos.
Of
All
what?
not anything good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are we talking about some child pornography here? Because that's what this sounds like.
All the photos were of young girls, which clearly showed an obsession.
Gross. Disgusting. You're nasty. Go die.
And this is only the beginning.
Yeah, this
They
is just
found-
this is just the teaser.
Yeah, the teaser
Hey,
hasn't
what?
even ended. Yeah,
This is just the
teaser hasn't even
teaser.
ended yet. Yeah. They also found a receipt for a storage locker in Seattle, but they didn't think much of it. Now, to pull some wisdom from Mr. Janis over here, I'm going to tell you guys to keep that piece of information in your back pocket for now.
All right, fold it up and in my back pocket.
That's right. We got it tucked away.
Police didn't find a driver's license or birth certificate, but they did find a name on a student ID from the UCLA with both a photo and a name. This is the case of Rodney Alcala, aka the dating game killer.
The dating game killer.
Yes, I've heard a little bit about this one.
What
Yes,
the heck?
and
This one's
Yep.
famous. Yeah, this is famous because this guy is a contestant on a fucking TV game show at some point.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Just because, yeah, okay. If
It's
someone who was on Love is Blind killed someone, they'd be the Love is Blind killer.
exactly.
Yes.
It's kind of
And
like
I'm surprised that hasn't existed yet.
right.
I'm surprised we haven't had a lot of reality TV show stars go on to become killers. Not gonna lie, like it's just the way they behave on those shows makes me think they're unstable. Yeah,
A shocking and disturbing amount of them end up committing suicide.
interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's like the humiliation and the manipulation of facts and like all that kind of stuff really, really fucks people up.
Weird, because all I ever see are the people who end up on multiple reality game shows.
Those people do also exist, yeah.
Yeah.
But some people never go again.
Well, I would assume a lot of them never go again, but it's probably because they didn't stand out as much. Because one of my guilty pleasure, right?
Yeah.
One of my guilty pleasures is the show Too Hot to Handle. And
yeah, of course it is.
Okay.
some of those,
I do love that one.
Yeah, the girls are hot. Let's be honest. And they move on, and next thing you know, like they're on this reality show and that reality show. So that's what I like. That's what I've seen,
Mhm.
you know. But yeah, you're right. Most of those people don't go on to do anything else.
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing.
A little bit, yeah.
Tangent one comes to an end.
I'm so sorry.
It happens.
Oh no, I love our tangents. Are you kidding me?
I'm a professional yapper. All I do is yap.
So Rodney was born on August 23rd, 1943 in San Antonio, Texas. He was the third of four children born to a Mexican-American couple, Raul and Anne Marie. In 1951, Rodney's father moved the family to Mexico and then abandoned them 3 years later.
Well,
Wow,
that's
what a
fucked up.
douche.
Yeah. We're going to leave you in this strange place. Later, suckers.
In 1954, when Rodney was 11, his mother moved him and his two sisters to LA. Rodney was academically gifted and was reasonably popular among his peers, and he had a supportive family structure.
Okay, well, that's not what we usually hear.
Right? I know. Big change. He was very highly educated, and he went to a couple private schools and ended up graduating from the Cantwell Sacred Heart of Mary High School.
Oh, so he's a
Wow, private
religious
school.
upbringing, yeah.
He was even on the yearbook committee and did track and cross country.
Wow.
In 1961, at 17, Rodney joined the Army to become a paratrooper, but ended up serving as a clerk. And during his service, he was noted as being manipulative, vindictive, and insubordinate.
Is he pissed because he has to do like clerical work instead of fighting?
I'm guessing, yeah, his dream didn't go the way he thought it was going to.
I'm not going to lie. When I joined, I was promised a particular MOS or military occupational specialty, and I did not get what I was promised. And I was also a little on the belligerent side. So, yeah.
I can't blame you for what you ended up having to do.
Explosives wasn't exactly where I wanted to be. No.
Yeah.
Rodney was also disciplined on several different occasions for assaulting young women.
In the army, he was actually disciplined for that. He must have been being real bad.
Or he was doing it to other like fellow soldiers, like female soldiers, because then you can be held accountable much more severely. Sometimes.
Yeah.
In 1964, after what was described as a nervous breakdown, during which he went AWOL and hitchhiked from Fort Bragg in North Carolina to his mother's house in California, Rodney was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder and estimated to have an IQ of 135 by a military psychiatrist.
Okay.
Wow, they're full on diagnosing a personality disorder, so they're really like having him see people.
Yeah, this is weird. Was it always like that in the 60s? Or did he just
what's
get
up with
lucky?
everyone getting mental health care?
Right? I remember speaking to a psychiatrist once when I was over in Okinawa, Japan, and later when I was up for a promotion in California years later, they used it against me. So
no way. Oh, that's awful.
Yeah. So, it's funny to hear this, but I guess they're kicking him out. So they're probably like, we want to make sure we got all our T's crossed and I's dotted if we're going to kick him out or something.
Mm-hmm.
He was subsequently discharged from the Army on medical grounds.
Of course.
Other diagnoses, later proposed by various psychiatrist experts, concluded that he had narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, malignant narcissism with psychopathic and sexual sadism tendencies.
Wow.
He got a rap sheet. The hell?
I know, right? They're like, we're not only are we going to diagnose you with this shit, we're going to make sure everybody knows you're fucked up.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's to have all of those?
Wow.
Yikes.
After being discharged from the Army, Rodney graduated from the UCLA School of Arts and Architecture. In 1968, after his abduction and assault of Tali, the police were obviously investigating Rodney. Now, apparently, he jumped from being a regular investigation to really top brass stuff because in 1969, he makes the FBI's 10 most wanted list.
Wow. I mean, yeah, he did something so horrific.
Yeah, that was fucking awful.
Now,
and to be honest,
even with this,
that it seems weird that that's his first known crime.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
except for the ones in the Army.
That's true, and who knows how much worse that it would have gotten if it not for that structure.
True.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that's normally what helps them or keeps them relatively sane.
No, but I mean, like he was stopped. He didn't try to kill somebody, or at least that we know of. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
To have an 8-year-old be your first victim is crazy. Although she survived, so at least she's not a murder victim.
Right. Attempted. Despite this level of infamy, years passed without a trace of him. It wasn't until 1971 when the LAPD received a call from their New Hampshire office. Officers there had Rodney in custody, and they caught him in a very disturbing way.
Oh God.
2 local girls went to the post office in their town and saw Rodney's picture on the FBI's wanted poster. They freaked out because they knew him well. He had been their counselor at an all-girls camp.
What?
What the fuck?
Oh, Jesus.
You gotta
Just
wonder.
imagine that's like Candyland for him.
Well, I was gonna say you gotta wonder how many girls were assaulted and never reported it.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Like, who would they report it to?
Right, or I mean, their
He's the counselor.
parents. Yeah, but their parents or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously he
Yeah,
didn't
it's
like
awful.
brutalize them, but he could have assaulted them. That's crazy.
I'd be shocked if he didn't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Rodney had been living in New York City and had been going to film school at NYU under the name John Berger. While there, he studied under another famous person for all the wrong reasons, Roman Polanski.
Oh. Was Epstein involved too, or is he not
Right?
alive yet?
He was alive. I don't think he would have been quite to the spot he was in, but yeah.
Now, here's a creepy side note. Roman Polanski's wife, Sharon Tate, was murdered by the Manson family. So Rodney had been arrested by the FBI, and they brought him back to California to prosecute him for the rape and attempted murder of Tally. But there was a big problem. By the time they caught him, Tally and his parents had left California and moved down to Mexico. They wanted a fresh start for Tally and for the family. When the FBI asked them to come and testify, they refused. They could not put their
Whoa.
daughter through that.
So that sucks because it means he's not going to get nearly as much time as a result.
Because Tally didn't testify at the trial, prosecutors offered him a deal, and he pled guilty to a single charge of child molestation.
Wow.
Now, this next part, I had no idea what existed at the time and just blew my mind. At the time in 1972, California had what was called indefinite sentencing laws, which basically meant Rodney got anywhere from 1 year to 99 years in prison. And the sentence was basically based on whatever the parole board thought was appropriate and how long it took him to be rehabilitated.
Interesting.
Wow.
Now, because Rodney had all this charm and because he could smooth talk his way out of pretty much a paper bag, the parole board thought he was rehabilitated and he was let out of prison in just 34 months.
Which is impressive, but I want to see someone charm their way out of a paper bag now that you've said it. Sorry. Such a weird phrase.
His freedom doesn't last long, though, and it only takes 2 months before getting busted again in October of 1974. Rodney had pulled up alongside a 13-year-old girl named Julie and asked if she wanted to ride to school.
I mean, I
I've
guess
heard
it
this
worked.
one before.
I was going to say it worked the first time, right?
Now,
Yep.
just like with Tally, unfortunately, Julie gets in the car and Rodney takes her to an isolated area near the ocean and forces her to smoke marijuana, and he kisses her.
Okay.
Now,
Gross.
Yeah.
he just wanted to, have his way with her as much as he could, and he luckily didn't get too far because before Rodney could continue on his
Assault.
yeah, thank you. I was looking for a more creative word, but yes. Police happen upon the scene. And now Rodney's really, really screwed now because he's being with this young girl and possession and smoking pot are all parole violations.
Strange that
Rodney
being with a 13-year-old girl is not.
Right.
Right?
Well, it's had to be on there somewhere. I mean, you can't just completely ignore that.
Well, you would think after pleading guilty to molestation of an 8-year-old, you would think that, I don't know, being with any minor on your own would be a parole violation.
Truly, but this is
so.
probably prior to
That's true.
laws that help out here that we've talked about.
Yeah, that's true. Fuck.
Rodney is sent back to prison and stays there until 1977 when he is yet freed again based on the indefinite sentencing laws.
That sounded like a good idea at first, but I'm beginning to think it was a really weird rule that benefited charismatic sociopaths.
And probably exactly why it doesn't exist now.
Yeah.
Right, and now we have mandatory minimum sentencing, which, is good for cases like this, but can be really awful for other cases where it's abused.
Yeah, agreed.
As shocking as it is that they let Rodney out, Rodney is released, and the parole board makes another big blunder.
Oh, God.
They let him leave California and go back to New York
Are
City.
you shitting me?
Fucking morons.
Anyone with half a brain can see what's coming. Rodney doesn't stay too long in New York, and he's back in LA by early 1978.
I'm surprised he goes back to LA, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he had much of a plan, though.
Yeah, obviously not, but still, it's crazy.
Rodney got a job at the LA Times as a typesetter. During his time working there, the Hillside Strangler was terrorizing the city, and the LA Times was covering the story extensively. Since Rodney was a registered sex offender, he was interviewed by the Hillside Strangler Task Force in March as a potential suspect.
You gotta wonder if that inspired him a little bit.
Yeah, I would say so. Now, for the record, there is nothing tying Rodney to these murders, but police find pot when they interview him, which gets him a slap on the wrist and a county jail sentence.
Dang, pot wasn't even that good back then. Why can't he just stay off the leaf, bro?
Right? Well, back then though, like it was such a big deal to have pot. So stupid.
Right. It's so funny that it's like here I am sitting in my room. There's like 3 sources of pot in here.
Right. And in Massachusetts, we can buy them pretty much on any street corner legally.
Legally, yep.
Literally, I have like a 15-minute walk, 5 dispensaries.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're becoming like Dunkin's now.
Yeah, you can buy edibles at gas stations. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Wait, you can?
Yeah, like you can. If you didn't
I know that.
If anyone didn't know that's listening, in Massachusetts, you can go into a gas station and buy edible marijuana gummy bears. Yeah.
That's I don't have a car, so I can't remember the last time.
Oh, you really
gas
didn't know.
station?
We thought you were being like facetious. Yeah, no.
Oh my god, no! I literally ignorant of the gas station community.
Yeah, you can buy them at like pretty much any counter at a gas station. It's kind of cool if you need like because you have the the 2 different types. So like you can buy the CBD or the HTC, and it's awesome for someone like me who doesn't really want the high feeling but want the mellow. I just go with the CBD, and it helps me sleep at night. So
wow,
there you go. Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're all bad people who do pot, just like this guy.
On June 14th, 1979, a 21-year-old woman named Jill Parento was found dead in her apartment in Burbank, California. She had been raped and strangled, and police immediately tie the murder to Rodney, but the police do not pursue the case because the evidence was too weak to build much of a case to begin with.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, I can see it though, because you don't want to bring him to trial and have it go bad, and then you can't go after him again.
Right.
Double jeopardy.
Yep.
On July 2nd, a fire crew in LA were doing routine maintenance when they stumbled upon a dismembered skeleton.
Whoa.
The head was separated from the body, both hands were removed, and there was evidence of strangulation. Additionally, the front teeth were cracked as if the victim had been beaten.
Jesus Christ. Could you imagine finding that while you're at work? Like you're just doing your job and all of a sudden you're like, oh, look, human remains.
Absolutely not.
It's like every time you hear like cases, certain cases, the two things I hear the most are a fisherman found this in the water or a guy walking his dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Crazy. I'll never fish or walk a dog. Fuck it.
So the body was too small to belong to an adult, and dental records confirmed the worst. The bones belonged to 12-year-old Robin Samso, who had been reporting missing on June 20th, which was 6 days after Jill was found and Rodney was let go.
Why? I'm not surprised. We how many times do we say that repeat offenders repeat offend?
Literally all the time.
It's just crazy to me.
When police initially investigated Robin's murder, her best friend, Bridget, had an interesting story. A story about a man with dark, curly hair stopping them in Huntington Beach earlier on in the day that Robin disappeared, saying that he wanted to take pictures of them.
Ew.
This description perfectly matched Rodney, and with Bridget's help, they got a composite sketch. Luckily for investigators, Rodney was easy to find this time. He was still in California with his mother in the Monterey Park neighborhood of LA. He obviously denies being in the area and says that he hasn't been to Huntington Beach in years.
Which, how could you prove
When,
any of that? He shouldn't even be in the state of California, but we're going to let all that
yeah,
go,
no kidding.
apparently.
For real.
When asked where he was the day Robin went missing, he doesn't have an alibi, but he conveniently went and got a haircut and straightened his hair after the composite sketch was released to the public.
Which makes sense. You know, it's like shaving a beard kind of thing. Yep.
Yeah, get rid of your identifiable feature.
Rodney was trying to build his own life, sort of as an alibi. He had a normal life, taking pictures, and he had a steady girlfriend named Beth. They'd been dating for a few months, and of course, she doesn't believe that he could harm a soul.
Yeah, that's how serial killers tend to work. Yeah.
Yeah, this crazy like narcissist million other diagnosis man.
Living the double life, right?
Truly.
As much as she believed he couldn't hurt anyone, as much as she wanted to convince police he wasn't their man, she also couldn't provide an alibi for him. Beth admitted that she wasn't with Rodney on June 20th, but did reveal a pretty unsettling detail. She had told police that Rodney had recently replaced the carpet in his car.
Yeah, that's suspicious. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a weird thing to do.
I laughed that, there was carpet in car.
Well, these days it's like plastic things that are sitting on top of the floor of the car. But so it would be the same idea as that. Like it would be a mat more than, I would assume, a mat more than a carpet. But who knows? Back then, maybe they were full blown carpets.
Yeah.
That was my thought originally. But anyway, he had told Beth that he spilled gas in there, and she didn't think twice of it.
Except what kind of idiot spills gas inside his car while he's trying to pump gas?
Yeah, how did you even bullshit?
Yeah, right? Like, I don't buy it. Sorry, guy.
With this, police got a search warrant and go through the entire house looking for anything that links Rodney to the murders of Robin or any other victim. But he's not stupid, and he made sure to cover his tracks, and when they did the search, they couldn't find anything that tied him to Robin or any of the other cases.
Right.
They still take him into custody, though, and they're hoping that by keeping him under surveillance that he would say something or somebody might come and see him that would break something open.
No, he's too smart for that, I think.
God, I love how you just make it so seamless to go right into the next thing.
Hey, I'm just repaying the favor.
Yeah.
One day, their entire case breaks open with a single visitor, and that visitor is Rodney's sister. During their visit, Rodney leans in and whispers he needs her to do him a favor. And that favor is to have her go to the storage locker in Seattle and empty it before police could get there.
Oh.
Yeah, I was going to say, oh, wait, I have that in my back pocket.
Yeah. I forgot it was in my pocket, I must admit.
Now, here's where I don't know if it's idiocracy or like what, but this was just mind-blowing. And if it was just this fact alone, it could be part of a Fumbles episode.
Okay.
Rodney didn't know that police were listening to the conversation.
Moron.
Yep. So he was talking as if it was just him.
Well, maybe back in the 60s and 70s, it wasn't common knowledge that they would listen in and record it.
Fair, yeah. There was probably less, like, common knowledge about, like, wearing a wire or whatever.
Right, and the recording equipment might have been harder to hide kind of thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I can see where maybe back then they wouldn't have known. Maybe.
Right, but still a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He should have been careful, like his sister wouldn't rat him out.
Right?
So that insignificant piece of paper, that insignificant receipt from earlier becomes important, and it leads them to his storage unit. And in the storage unit, they find an abundance of explicit pictures of women, young girls, and even boys.
Oh.
Gross.
They also found a bag of earrings, one set in particular catching their attention. A little gold stud that looked like the ones that Robin was wearing the day she went missing.
Oh.
It was in fact confirmed by Robin's mother that they belonged to her, but Robin had borrowed them the day she went missing. Police began to comb through the pictures looking for more evidence. Among the hundreds of pictures, there's a picture of a girl on roller skates on the boardwalk at Sunset Beach. Now, Sunset Beach is south of LA, right in the city of Huntington Beach, which Rodney claimed he had been to in years. So there's evidence of him lying.
Right, but if the police think he's not lying at this point, they're idiots.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
we love evidence.
Yeah, we love stupid criminals.
That we do. That we do.
Police were hoping to find the girl in the picture and were praying that she was still alive. They released the photo to the media and actually got lucky. They learned that the girl's name was Lori. She was 15 and she escaped Rodney unharmed with a terrifyingly familiar story.
Ooh.
Wow.
She told police that she and a friend were at Sunset Beach when a man with a camera approached them saying he worked for a magazine and he asked if he could take their picture for a contest.
It's like, if a teen girl might be like, oh my God, he thinks I'm pretty. Like,
right?
I'm going to be a model now.
And in the 70s, that was pretty much one of the few ways you could do it.
Yeah.
Yep. Police armed with the earrings, the witness sightings, the sketch, and Rodney's prior convictions, they started to build their case while continuing to investigate. During this time, Rodney was denied bail and kept in prison until he was put on trial for Robin's murder. Robin's murder trial started in February of 1980, and in April of that same year, it ended with Rodney being found guilty.
As he should have been.
Yes.
Correct.
Oh, but there's so much more. He was sentenced to death, which, you would assume that's the end of the story, right?
That'd be nice,
Yeah.
but I know it's not.
You would hope.
Not even close.
We haven't even gotten to the dating game yet.
In 1984, Rodney's conviction for Robin's murder was overturned.
What?
By the California Supreme Court.
That's insane.
And the reason is insane too. I don't understand how they can overturn something that important and that vital over this stupid thing. Now, this is the reason. According to court records, his conviction was overturned after the California Supreme Court found that the jury was improperly informed about his prior convictions. That's it. They apparently determined that this made his trial unfair and violated his constitutional rights.
Okay, so are we trying him again, or is that double jeopardy?
No, because it's overturned.
Again.
It's overturned, so it's a different thing altogether.
Gotcha.
It would be double jeopardy if they found him innocent and then they tried him again for the same crime.
Gotcha.
That's the difference. But my problem with this is, like, how do you determine, like, I mean, I know it's all part of the court proceedings, but past crimes need to be introduced as evidence. It has to be. But the fact that they didn't allow it and that's what overturned it is fucking crazy to me.
Yeah.
I don't get it. It seemed like a very flimsy thing to overturn such a big conviction on.
Yeah, that's the kind of like Better Call Saul shit, you know?
Yep. He does get put back on trial again 2 years later in 1986, and he was convicted again and sentenced to death again.
Wow.
Well, at least there's some consistency.
He keeps filing appeals and tries to weave his way through the justice system and try to stave off the death penalty as much as he can.
And we all know the death penalty does not usually happen swiftly, so.
Exactly.
So he's actually on death row up until 2001.
Okay. I'm waiting for what the next part is.
So he's trying to get his case overturned. and somehow it works. Once again, for the third time, he goes back to trial again.
In 2001, so like 30 years later.
This is crazy.
Now, because his case was entering the 2000s, forensics had definitely grown and evolved, and DNA had pretty much become a staple of all homicide investigations. In 2002, the California Attorney General announced that all death row inmates, like Rodney, would have their DNA taken so they could establish a database that we've all come to know and love called CODIS.
CODIS is amazing.
Yes, yes, it is.
Hold on. I've never heard of CODIS.
CODIS is I don't know exactly what the letters stand for, but it's basically where they take your DNA and they put it in a database, and it's shared across the country and across law enforcement agencies, so that if they have a DNA sample, and it's an unknown sample, they put it into the system, and then the computer does all the searching and tells you if they're in the system or not, and it can help
Very cool.
identify you. So anyone that's served in prison at all has their DNA in there. And I believe that the military even started uploading every member of the military, I think somewhere in the 2000s going forward.
Wow.
Even though they're
That's cool.
not
I didn't know that
criminals,
one.
I believe their DNA is also in the database. So
Nice.
it's been a huge help on a lot of crimes.
Yeah, I bet.
So in 2003, police get their DNA sample from Rodney, and this is after he's been in 24 years in prison. Using the sample, investigators are able to link him to 4 more grisly murders between 1977 and up to his arrest in 1979.
Yeah, see,
Wow.
exactly. I knew it had to have been something like that.
All the women had been sexually assaulted, viciously beaten, strangled in and out of consciousness, and had their bodies posed in unnatural positions.
He just likes to humiliate his victims.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful. So the DNA tells a damning story of Rodney's activities. He got out of prison in 1977. In that same year, 18-year-old girl named Jill Barcomb's body was found dead in a ravine. This is not the same Jill from earlier. Jill was initially thought to have been a victim of the Hillside Strangler, but now, with the DNA, it clearly is one of Rodney's victims. Following Jill Barcombe, his next victim was 27-year-old Georgia Wickstead in 1977.
These are
He
all
then-
like rapid fire.
Yeah.
He then took the life of Charlotte Lamb in 1978. Her DNA was actually found on a pair of earrings from the bag that they found in Rodney's storage locker.
Wow.
What the fuck?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? The final case that they were able to connect him to in California was Jill Parento. She's the Jill that we were talking about earlier, and she was believed to be connected to Rodney, and now they could actually prove it. With these DNA matches, police and the DA saw their worst fears realized. Rodney was a serial killer.
Yeah.
With their new evidence, the DA's office decides that they're going to try something a little bit different. Instead of just retrying him for Robin's murder, they wanted to try him for all 5, all at the same time.
You know, you got to wonder what is going through this asshole's head. He's like fighting to get his retrial. He finally gets it, and then modern technology completely fucks him.
Yeah, it's gonna be so much worse.
The trial for murdering Robin, Pamela Charlotte, and both Jills didn't start until 2010.
Which is so crazy.
I don't understand why they drag their feet so much.
I don't know that they're dragging their feet. That may have how long it may have taken to get all their evidence, like their ducks in a row, so to speak. But it's
Because
still,
these are a lot of cases.
yeah, but it's a long time though.
It really
And
is.
it probably wouldn't be the highest priority since this guy's like already on death row, like he's already in prison.
That's true. That's true.
It's not like they're gonna levy more punishments.
Well, he is.
It's good to get like justice for the victims, but I can see why like investigations on someone who's not in prison might be more important.
Agreed. I can see that.
So Rodney decided to do something that we only see from the most narcissistic people. He
Oh.
decided to be his own attorney.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say he did a press conference, but okay.
Love it.
Yeah, yeah, love these idiots.
This monster called Rodney's mother to the stand and made her relive all that agony and the whole ordeal all over again.
What a fucking
Which,
nut bar.
yeah, just absolutely scarring.
That's just like sadistic. What the fuck?
Now it gets really twisted and really strange. He called himself as a witness and actually cross-examined himself
What the fuck?
on the stand using two different voices. So he's like two different people. So I'm guessing, modern movies like The Joker 2, like that may have been some inspiration for
That
them.
that was such a stupid
Oh,
scene though. Ugh, I hated that scene in that movie.
Well, that whole movie in general sucked.
Yeah, that too.
But yes, that was a very, very, very strange scene.
I love that the judge told him to knock it off in the movie, and it's too bad this judge didn't tell that to Rodney Alcala.
Well,
well, he could have been seeing what Rodney was doing to himself in front of the jury and said, "All right, dig your own grave then."
Exactly.
I'm
He's like,
sitting
here.
here like, and I crossed that part, and I was like, what self-respecting judge would allow that to begin with?
But I think Joyous has a point. This guy's like, here's your shovel. Keep digging, fucker.
Yeah.
So now we get to why he's called what he's called. As a part of evidence, Rodney presents a video of himself on TV back in September 1978. He was a contestant on the dating game, a TV show, and he won. But the girl that he wanted to go out on a date with didn't want to go out on the date with him.
Okay.
She got a bad feeling from him backstage and saw him acting weird and just didn't feel comfortable with it and never went on the date with him.
Probably
Thank God.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably for the best for her.
He claimed that the point of playing the video was to prove that he was wearing gold earrings and that police were wrong about the earrings and that they were his and not Robin's.
I think he misunderstood how that was gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely thought there was more importance on that than there was. Because I still think he probably doesn't understand the whole concept of how bad the DNA is against him.
Yeah, for
Or he
sure.
thinks he's better than it.
Who knows? But to go through all that trouble just to prove that he was wearing a pair of earrings, really bizarre.
Very
Yeah.
narcissistic behavior. He's like, "Look, women like me."
Wow.
So the jury saw through his bullshit and once again found him guilty of capital murder in California. He was convicted of killing 5 innocent women and girls.
Yeah,
In a surprising twist, after his conviction, after his sentencing hearing, a grown Talia, Rodney's first potential victim there,
mm-hmm. The
who
8-year-old.
barely survived, she got up and testified.
Wow.
Wow. So she was 8 in like 1968. So
Yes.
and then we're talking what 2010 or 2012.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Good for her.
Yeah, exactly. I was very happy to hear that. The jury reached their decision in a single afternoon, and for the third time, the fact that we have to say it a third time,
It's crazy.
he was sentenced to death.
Good.
There are no more appeals, and he will never be getting out to hurt anyone else.
Wait,
Now,
he's still alive and in there?
it's not over yet.
All right. Oh fuck. Go ahead.
Even with him locked up, there's a lingering question. How many victims did he actually have?
That's a valid question.
Now, police have taken his photo collection, all the nasty photos that, nobody should ever need to see ever.
Yeah.
They were able to, out of the 900 photos he had,
Oh, is that all?
uh, out of the 900, 120 of them were not explicit, and they were able to release those to the public. And their hope when doing that was that somebody would see a picture of someone and recognize them and, hope that they could find them alive. And there were multiple families that did come and spoke up and said that they knew some of the women in the pictures.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Now, Rodney was also connected to 3 more cases. There was the case of 19-year-old Pamela Lameson, who went missing from the San Francisco Bay Area in 1977 after telling her friends she was going to see a photographer who matched Rodney's description, and
Okay.
her naked body was found shortly thereafter.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
The two other victims, 13-year-old Annette Whitaker and 17-year-old Joyce Gott, were both murdered in Seattle, where his storage unit was.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm surprised we're
Now,
not hearing about victims in New Hampshire.
I thought about that too, yeah.
That's the weird part for me.
It needs to be noted that there is no DNA definitively linking Rodney to these murders, even though police pretty much thought that he was hook, line, and sinker responsible for them.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
In January 2011, the Manhattan DA indicted Rodney for the murders of Cornelia Criley and Ellen Hover.
Okay.
Rodney had been on the NYPD's radar for Ellen's murders for years before they were able to finally charge him, since he was using the alias John Berger, was found in Ellen's day planner for the day that she disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty damning evidence right there. So we're like, what, a dozen victims or so?
Yeah, it's close to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were able to forensically link him to the crime. For that crime, he was sentenced to 25 years to life.
Which doesn't matter because he's sentenced to death, so I'm surprised they really went through with it.
Right. So, yeah, even if he had managed to reverse the third death sentence, he would still have to go to New York State and face his punishment there.
Right. But, I mean, I guess that still gets justice for the victim, so there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
However, exactly 42 years after his apprehension on July 24th, 1979, Rodney died of a heart attack in a hospital in Kings County on July 24th, 2021.
He deserved a lot worse than a heart attack.
He really did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got off easy with that one.
I would have preferred.
He got off easy this whole time.
Yeah, I would have preferred the whole he got COVID, was on the ventilator and suffering over a heart attack. It's hard to believe he made it that long. Holy shit.
Yeah, no
kidding.
kidding.
For real. That's a long life.
That's a long life on death row.
Yeah.
For real.
Wow. We definitely got to fix that problem.
And that is the case of Rodney Alcala.
Yeah, I've heard about the dating game. I've seen the clip, which is funny. Like, cause he is charming, and if you didn't know better, like the woman initially didn't, you can see why he was sort of picked. You know,
mm-hmm.
But that's the only part I had seen because I saw that on a video, like one of those like top 10 things serial killers did kind of thing. Yeah. Crazy.
Now, I'd have to go back and look up the name of it, but there is a Netflix movie based on him.
Okay.
And
wow.
It's probably called like The Dating Game Killer or something like that.
Something like that. But in the movie, they focus on just the dating game aspect. Like they make it much bigger than what it actually was.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, with all the horrific stuff that goes on in his case, yeah, I'm guessing they probably didn't want to bring most of that to life.
So I did look it up. It's called Woman of the Hour, and it has Anna Kendrick playing the woman on the game show. So it's really focusing more on her than it is on him, which is kind of cool. And now I want to watch it.
I loved it when I watched it. And in fact, that's what reignited me into looking into this case.
Well, it's funny because that's how I felt about Candy Montgomery, which when I watched the two like mini series about her, that's what made me want to do what we did. So, yeah, I get that.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you everybody once again for listening. We will see you again soon. I am Janice Dead.
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous Dead.
And we'll see you in a week.
Bye.